Hello, students. Welcome back to my class. Today, I will again continue with the play, the famous Shakespearean tragedy Macbeth. And Macbeth is in part 2 and in paper 3. Okay, so today I'll be talking about, I have already talked about 3-4 topics in Macbeth. Now, I will discuss a very significant topic, very important topic from the play, which is the sleepwalking scene. So, the title of today's talk is The Significance of Sleepwalking Scene, which is in Act 5, Scene 1 in Macbeth. Okay. So, this is a pictorial presentation of the sleepwalking scene. In the picture, we can see Lady Macbeth is sleepwalking. She is walking in her sleep and she is holding a candle, and a doctor and a gentlewoman was they were watching at her and commenting on her physical and mental deterioration. And in this particular scene, we can see Lady Macbeth is actually confessing her crimes. She talks about the murder of Banquo, she talks about the regicide, the murder of Duncan, and all the other crimes they have committed together, her and her husband together. So, this is a very important scene in the context of this play, and all the students are requested to pay special attention to this particular lecture, and so that you can understand the play in a better way. Those who are joining me for my today's lecture, you people can use the subtitle button from the from the YouTube, and at the top part of your screen you can see there is a CC option. You can click it and you can use the subtitle of the lecture video as well. And I would suggest to take down notes, so you are free to pause the video whenever you like. Okay, so without much delay, let us continue with the sleepwalking scene. So, the Act 5, Scene 1 of the play Macbeth has been named by the critics of Shakespeare as the sleepwalking scene. The scene brings out the crisis of conscience that shakes the tremendous soul of Lady Macbeth. So the important character in this particular scene is Lady Macbeth. There are some insignificant characters like the doctor and the gentlewoman, but the primary character in this scene is Lady Macbeth. Though an instigator of murder, Lady Macbeth starts feeling herself as a sinner, repentant, almost immediately after the deed is committed. So, the change in her state of mind reaches its apex in Act 5, Scene 1, when the audience finds her as a desolate and stricken woman who was actually recapitulating the crimes as she speaks while walking in sleep. So, the setting of this scene is very unique. Everywhere there is darkness, and in that darkness we can see that a woman wearing some kind of white clothes, holding a candle, walking in her sleep, and it's a very darkness. The darkness which was showing outside was darkness inside her mind also, and the darkness, the guilt-ridden conscience were actually coming out through the speeches which she talks. So it may be said that the seeds of sleepwalking scene are laid earlier in the play. The change in Lady Macbeth become inevitable after Duncan's murder. So Duncan was a father-like figure to Macbeth, and in one of her speeches, Lady Macbeth also said, "Ki had he not looked like my father, I could have killed him." So there was a scene when Lady Macbeth went inside Duncan's chamber to see whether he is sleeping or not. So that time she had the opportunity to kill him, but her natural femininity, womanhood, motherhood prevented her from killing Duncan during his sleep. But she prompted Macbeth to kill Duncan. She also provided the dagger. And what happens after Duncan's death? See, there is a change of the attitude in Lady Macbeth. She fainted with the shock of sudden disclosure of the crime. Duncan was lying in a pool of blood, and seeing his dead body, Lady Macbeth fainted. So at once her nature begins to sink or shrink. The glory of her dream, she wanted to become the queen of Scotland. So the glory of her dream starts to disappear from that moment itself. She enters disillusioned and weary with want of sleep, and she realizes that she has thrown away everything and gained nothing. So there is one of her dialogues which is very pertinent when she says, "Knots had all spent, where our desire is got without content." So this is very pertinent in the context of the drama. So we have to understand the difference between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. Macbeth, who was physically stronger and who was flaming with life, comes into the forefront, and Lady Macbeth retires towards the backdrop. After the murder of Duncan, Macbeth rarely needs his wife's help. Though she saves her husband from an open disclosure of the crime in the banquet scene. I have already discussed banquet scene in one of my earlier lectures. So those who have not understood what happened in the banquet scene, you can follow my banquet scene lecture. So she saved her husband from an open disclosure of the crime in the banquet scene. But after this, she takes no part whatever in action. The disillusionment and despair prey upon her more and more, and all this culminates in the sleepwalking scene. All this culminate in the sleepwalking scene, which is her last stage appearance. After this, we see no more of her and come to know later that she has killed herself. She has committed suicide. So, from that way, this is her last stage appearance. So, the sleepwalking scene is sufficient without any suggestion and narrative. We can notice a total bankruptcy of Lady Macbeth in the scene. With Macbeth, the pangs by which he maddened find an outlet in his violent and desperate action. So Macbeth's inner turmoil got an outlet in his violent and desperate actions of killing Banquo or killing others' wife like Macduff's wife and all other noblemen who were very much obedient to MacDonald and the deceased king Duncan. So we can see that in case of Macbeth, he has got an outlet in her violent and desperate actions, but with a physically inactive Lady Macbeth, the terrible memories go deep into her heart and go deep into her soul, and which sucks her energy, peace of mind, and her very life. She needs her husband more than anybody at this crucial juncture, obviously, but he is not there by her side. She is overcome by a terrible mental shock or sickness which causes her somnambulism. Okay, somnambulism means walking in sleep. Lady Macbeth reveals all about the three murders in the scene, and Shakespeare creates a terrible dramatic effect through the sleepwalking for the first time in literature. So from that perspective also, this scene is very important because sleepwalking has never been portrayed in literature earlier. Okay. So the scene opens with a conversation between doctor and a gentlewoman who waits on Lady Macbeth. The gentlewoman informs the doctor about her degenerating mental state. So it becomes clear that the absence of Macbeth in the castle has resulted in such condition. It seems Lady Macbeth's soul labors to communicate to her husband but fails to do so. Okay. So I have talked about darkness earlier also, the importance of darkness in this particular play, and in several scenes we have the predominance of darkness, and perhaps the most dominating role which darkness plays is in this particular scene. Okay, so darkness is effectively used in this scene. The scene is enacted in a dark room of the castle. It is only in such darkness that the dark thoughts comes out from the dark depths of the tormented soul. The disjointed words of Lady Macbeth, the disjointed words of Lady Macbeth brings back the heinous murders committed in the dark of night. Moreover, darkness is also used ironically here. So there is a situation of irony. Earlier, Lady Macbeth invoked the darkness. She actually calls the darkness before the regicide, before the killing of Duncan. While she said, "Come, thick night, and pall thee in the dun smoke of hell." Now she cannot bear darkness and has light by her continually. So this is an irony of speech, irony of situation, where earlier she has invoked darkness to commit the regicide. Now she is fearful of darkness and she is actually avoiding the darkness. Okay. So if you follow the scene properly, you can see there are several important soliloquies available in this particular scene, and this scene also provides an examples of dramatic irony which I have already mentioned, as all Lady Macbeth's actions and words now appears very much ironical. She constantly rubs her hand. An action suggesting she is washing her hand to remove the stain of Duncan's blood. She wanted to remove the stain of blood from her hand. So, in sleepwalking also, she is continuously rubbing her hand as if she is trying to remove the stain of blood from her hand, also the smell of the blood. She cries out, "Out, damn spot! Out, I say!" And she feels that the overpowering stretch of blood and his sickening smell will never be erased from her hand, and hence she cries out in agony and desperation, "Here is the smell of blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten the little hand. Oh, oh, oh." This is the clear reflection of Macbeth's earlier speech when he came to the decision that his bloody hand will change the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red. I mean, the intensity of blood is so high as if it will change the color of the sea and it will turn the green sea into a red one. So, from that perspective, these dialogues are very important. The reiteration of the injection, "oh, oh, oh," which has been uttered by Lady Macbeth, brings out the poignancy of the excruciating experience of her inner sufferings. Here, her reaction to the bloodstained hand is very much ironical, because earlier she herself advised her husband to fetch some water in order to wash the filthy witness. Earlier, she has talked her husband that you can wash your hands and there is nothing there. But which is very much ironical here, while she is rubbing her hand, while there is nothing else on her hand, she is rubbing her hand as if she is trying to remove the stain and the smell of Duncan's blood. Okay. Then Lady Macbeth's confession about the three murders committed shows how deeply she is affected and haunted by the memories. This is very interesting because she is very much haunted by the memories of the crime they have committed together. Okay. In her sleepwalk, she recapitulates the murder of Banquo as well. She does not just talk about the Duncan's murder, rather, she talks about the murder of Banquo and also the murder of Macduff's wife by Macbeth. Okay, so Banquo and Macduff's wife was killed by the professional killers, and she talks about their involvement in that. So Macduff's wife and son also was also killed. She tries to assure her husband. So in her sleepwalk, she is also doing her part, the role of the wife. She was trying to assure her husband by saying, Banquo is buried. He cannot come out one's grave. So she knows very well that her husband is tormented by the ghost of Banquo in the banquet scene, and she is trying to reassure her husband that Banquo is buried and you need not think of him because he cannot come out from his grave. She even tries to console her husband, maybe also to herself, and murmurs, what is done cannot be undone. So these are all important quotations which I have given in the PowerPoint. You have to make a note of these quotations and you have to use the quotations during your answers, and it will definitely fetch you good marks in your exams. Okay, so then immediately after this dialogue, what is done cannot be undone, she immediately goes back to bed and never again to rise from it. However, the doctor's function in the scene is that of a Corey commentator. He voices our sentiments and ends his speech by praying to the God, God forgive us all, look after her. So, to some extent, he is the common man who is actually witnessing the scene, what is happening inside Lady Macbeth's castle. Okay. So I was talking about somnambulism earlier. Somnambulism is the disease where it's a mental problem where people walks in their sleep. Okay. So in the scene, Lady Macbeth's speeches are written in prose. Okay. The speeches which she has uttered during her somnambulism are written in prose. Since somnambulism is an abnormal condition, Shakespeare uses prose speeches for her because it is his general rule to assign prose to person whose state of minds are abnormal. So in all the plays, the person with abnormal mental conditions are actually talking in prose. So this is a very important observation, that while a person is out of his mental comfort, he or she always speaks in Shakespeare's term in prose, because poetry is something which does not happen in case of there is some kind of disturbing mental condition. Okay. So yeah. So in the abnormal condition of King Lear also, in the play King Lear, we can find such instances where prose dialogues have been uttered by the king. Okay, so this is also very much significant to understand ki, what exactly is the mental condition of a particular person from his speech, his dialogues, and all. So, as I've already mentioned, for the first time in literature, Shakespeare uses somnambulism as his weapon for a great dramatic effect in this particular play. In this mental condition, there is no rational connection in the sequence of images and ideas. So, there is no rational connection in the sequence of images and ideas. The blood on her hand, the vision of the regicide, the killing of Duncan, the idea of the murdered wife of Macduff, the smell of her hand, and her husband's fear of the buried Banquo, the sound at the knocking at the gate, all come to her mind one after another in chance order. So there is no specific order, and all these harsh realities which they have faced earlier comes together in chance order. There is no specific order of those things, and these things comes later stages in by chance order. Okay, so these disordered imaginations are the reflection of an intense suffering which forces its way into light. The language is very simple in construction and stands in strong contrast with the Macbeth's exalted tone. So, here, as if the Lady Macbeth is very much dubious, she could not see her discomfort, her difficult situations, all are being reflected through the dialogues, through the speeches as presented in the sleepwalking scene. It is admitted by all that sleepwalking scene is only a projection of the tortured conscience of Lady Macbeth. The scene inspires pity, but its main effect is one of awe. The audience becomes awestruck by watching the scene, because this is something which has happened for the first time in literature. No dramatist, no novelist, no other poetry writer has used the concept of somnambulism in their play. So, from that way, this scene is very much unique. And there is one famous critic, Campbell. So, according to Campbell, there is no trace of contusion in Lady Macbeth's misery. Doubtless, she would have given the world to undo what she had done, and the very thought of it killed her. Yet, regarding her from the tragic point of view, we may say that she was too great to repent. So, this is what we can come to know about the sleepwalking scene. And sleepwalking scenes in general covers various important aspects. First and foremost, it uses somnambulism for the first time in literature. Secondly, it talks about the tormented soul of the antagonist. Here it is Lady Macbeth, who has actually confessed all the crimes what has been committed by her and her husband. And it talks about another thing, that crime never pays. In case of Macbeth, Macbeth was physically attacked, Macbeth was killed, and in Macbeth's case, the suffering was both physical and mental. But in case of Lady Macbeth, the suffering which we can see is totally mental. She's having some kind of mental disorder, and because of that disorder, this particular somnambulism, this particular type of disease occurs to her. She is very much desolate and she is very much grief stricken, and we can only pity her from this particular scene. We cannot just be angry with her. We can only pity her from this particular scene. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can put it in the comment section below.